All right, what's going on, guys? So I know it's been about almost 2 weeks since the last episode. So I'm sorry that we missed a week. So basically, this past uh, Saturday was my gym's open house event where it was crazy. I couldn't be more thankful for where I work and what I do. So with that being said, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming. If I can speak English, tired. Um, you see the bags in my eyes. Holy shit! Yeah, this is bad. I gotta get to bed. But yeah, I'm late night editing. So with that being said, this is my conversation with somebody who I now consider a friend and somebody who has dished out some knowledge and who I've happened to had the privilege of training on the side as well. So here's my conversation with Jasmin. So today I have a honor of having a little bit more of a detailed conversation, not necessarily a first time conversation because we've spoken a couple of times before, and I've had the honor of actually training this person over here. Well, I'll let her introduce herself. She's actually uh, fairly, still, I would say fairly new to the country, or would you say you feel you're settled in?
Kind of. I would consider myself new still, I think.
Okay. Well, on that note, I'll let you introduce yourself then.
Yes. So hello. Well, thank you. Thank you, first of all, Tim, for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Jasmin. My family's originally from Portugal, but they immigrated to Germany and I was born in Germany. So I grew up bilingual and surrounded with a lot of cultures. And after I graduated high school, I decided to um, work and travel because I wasn't really sure what to do with school and what to study and whatsoever. So I decided to take a gap year and I became an au pair in the United States, which is an international nanny. And I ended up on Long Island. And then I also was an au pair in New Jersey for another family. And after that, I decided I wanted to pursue my studies and university here. So I decided to come back after 1 year of pairing, and I started going to community college. And now I'm graduating in May and transferring to a 4 year institution, which I'm really excited about. And I've grown,
Congratulations.
thank you. I've grown a lot throughout the whole experience, and I've learned a lot about myself, other people, culture, and so on. I'm 22 years old. I guess that's an interesting fact to put in there now. When I first came here, I was 18 years old. And yeah, I guess that's my
Okay.
introduction.
So you've come and whoops, almost lost my mic. You've come and you've left the country quite a few times then.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
And had you spent time in Portugal before you went to Germany? Like as far as like your memories before you moved over to Germany,
Mhm.
do you have so what is the difference like between living all three different countries and it's just a variety of not only knowledge that you're getting from all different types of lifestyles, but you're also uh, smart in picking up multiple different languages. How would you feel as living in America compared to living in Germany and both living in, um, I'm sorry, Portugal?
Well, yeah. So there definitely are a lot of differences, but then also a lot of similarities. I think so. I never really lived in Portugal. Every summer, my parents and I, we would spend the summer in Portugal for 3 weeks, and maybe would go early spring for 2 weeks and spend time with my family. So I spent a great amount of time throughout my life in Portugal since all my family's there, but I haven't really lived there. But I guess I can talk about the differences. But I would probably be talking more about the differences between Germany and the United States. So the first thing that I saw when I first came here was probably the size of everything. Everything is a lot bigger in the United States than in Europe in general. So that started off with um, streets, cars, everything was higher. When I first started off as an au pair, I was at a training school for childcare, and we were at Hofstra University. I remember trying the food for the first time. So everything was bigger, but also in the sense everything, like the portions of the food were bigger, and everything was saltier, everything was sweeter. So that was definitely
the food is like a major difference between the cultures then, huh?
Yes, very, very big. 100%. I feel like especially in Portugal, they cook a lot with olive oil and a lot of vegetables, fish. But if we stay, if let me finish with the size, I guess. Driving a car for the first time was also very interesting. My first host family wanted me to drive an automatic car, and in Europe, most cars are they with the gear and with the shift.
Yeah, manual transmission.
Manual transmission, thank you. So that was very interesting. I was confused, so I used my left foot on the brake, which you're not supposed to do with an automatic car. So that was very interesting, just learning stuff like that. And they had me driving GMC, like a GMC truck, the extended version. So it was a huge car, and I never drove a big car, never automatic. So interesting experience.
I'd say so.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, with the food, definitely very, very different. I feel like a lot of like routine related things are very different that affected me. For example, I feel like Americans don't really have a big lunch, whereas in Europe we focus more on having an actual big lunch, especially in Germany. Germans like to have we call it Brotzeit, where they have just maybe some bread or maybe like a salad, something small for dinner, because everyone says you're not supposed to have a big meal at dinner, and people focus more on lunch. But here in America, when I came here, I barely had lunch, or I had something very small, and then for dinner I had a bigger meal. So that was definitely very weird, and just a perception of time that people have. And I guess the people.
Right, because it's military. Yeah. It's technically military time overseas, right? With where you're at, it's not the type of times that we have over here in America. It's where it goes to 1700, 1800. Yeah, I'm used to reading that language. My God, but yes, I'm used to reading that also. But I do understand that we're the only place in the entire world that does this kind of a clock, which I still have yet to understand why it's still a thing. If we're this aware of it now as a whole, like I don't understand why we're still running with it, just because it throws off like even everything. Like if you say I'm not going to say her name out loud, but the Echo devices, the Amazon, because if I say her name, she's going to activate. So if I say set a time, I have to make sure I specify PM sometimes, just because it's going to say, unless I do the actual military time, it's going to give me sometimes that option of it's going to say AM or PM, unless I actually say it itself. But continue.
Yeah, that was a big difference too. I mean, I knew Americans used, because growing up in high school, we would learn about American culture, and that here you have the concept of AM and PM, whereas we have the 18 o'clock. So that was also a big difference. But with the people in general, for example, I can share a very good difference, which is like connected to stereotypes, I would say. So in Germany, a lot of people are stereotypes, known stereotypes. What would you say? What are like the German stereotypes that you have?
Very loud and aggressive talking, but not necessarily they're aggressive. It's just that it's the way it comes off. I want to say a lot of like sausage type foods, sauerkraut, drinking heavy, being tall. I have German family as well, so I do understand not a lot of it, but I do understand some of the German culture. Not a good portion of it, but I knew a little taste of it. But for the most part, like I don't want to say that they stick to 100% to the stereotypes, but it's like a good portion of the stereotypes are definitely there.
Yeah, they're definitely what I noticed here. Americans are open. They're open and excited and very friendly. And when I first came here, my English was definitely not as fluent as it is now, and I sometimes was struggling and expressing myself. any American, all the Americans I met were helpful and excited to talk to me, no matter how bad my English was. So I love that. That was a very big difference, because in Germany, people are a lot more reserved, and I feel like more judgier. And I also feel like here I had the opportunity to be myself, be whoever I'd like. Obviously, I was an au pair and in a new country, so obviously no one knows me, but I don't know. I have more of the fear of, oh my God, I have to wear jeans now out to school. But here, people wear pajamas to school, which is also something. Yeah, when I first went to the mall here, I saw people wearing slippers. My jaw dropped, because that's just not a thing. People don't wear slippers or pajamas to the mall. Most people.
Oh, you would have had a field day in my high school, and Brent would forget about it. Girls went to gym class with like Cookie Monster pajamas, and they would walk around in their Adidas sandals with their socks with their bright ass pink, with a big ass hoodie. Like there is no whatsoever. There's no filter whatsoever when it comes down to what you can wear out here, especially if you look in New York City.
You're right. I've noticed that, and I've noticed myself adjusting to those stereotypes, and I definitely wear a lot more baggier and relaxed clothing. But in Germany in high school, I remember every day I barely would wear leggings or something like that. And that like the way people dress, I feel like connects to the behavior. So in Germany, people are known to be very reserved and cold, which I definitely think is true for most cases. And when you first meet someone, like a lot of times if you say hello to someone on the street here, even in New York City, people are like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Or they compliment you on your outfit. And I barely see that ever in my hometown in Germany. So that's like a stereotype and a difference I've seen. What else? There's a lot of differences. Do you want me to talk about something specifically, like education or?
Well, actually, yes. So that was going to be one of the questions. So the education system that we have here, I know for a fact that we are basically last in a lot of our, not last or close to last or damn near in the middle. I don't think we're first really in any subject as far as when it comes down to our education system. And I honestly can't say that I see that I can't debate it just because it's a not for nothing. It's a poor system, and it's made to create factory workers, not like it's from the get go. Like it's made to create people who are ready to get ready for a 9 to 5. Like it's it's trying to get like a system ready for that type of lifestyle versus an entrepreneurial lifestyle or trade schools or actually pursuing something that you want to do and getting paid off of it versus going what's best for the money and you having to suck it up and then going for retirement and then eventually going to do what you want to do because you're retired, but you've already wasted a good 60 years of your life because you worked that 9 to 5 to try and get a pension, plus all the education and bills that you're going to get from college debt and all that stuff, just because that's already programmed into your brain is to college, take out that student loan, take out that student loan, take out that student loan. Like in reality, some people like myself, if I had just stuck with my gut from the get-go, instead of listen to the people listen to the voices on the outside, I would have just gone straight into the personal training lifestyle and had been personal training since I graduated high school. But because I listened to the voices on the outside, thinking that they know what's best for me versus what I knew, which was actually best for me, and I'm succeeding in now that I'm actually pursuing it, it's a little bit more of an eye-opener, and using something like this platform here to go into detail about what it's like to go with the education system in Germany. Please just feel free to go into much detail as you want to go into, because I'm all ears.
Okay. So I definitely would like to touch on that 9 to 5 concept and kind of the voices telling you what to do and going with what society expects you to do, like the standards. I definitely feel like that's the same thing in Germany as well. From my experience, people want you to follow, go to high school, get your high school diploma, and then go to university and get a well-paid job, a 9 to 5 job. So that's definitely also a thing. And I've seen a lot of friends that struggle with that too, because they actually are passionate about something else and we're all afraid to take the risk, right? To take the risk of doing what we actually love and then succeeding in it.
Because there's no security or safety. It's just taking that giant leap.
Exactly. So that is definitely a thing I've experienced also in Germany. But going to going back to a big difference in education or in like the high school system in Germany, the high school system is like divided in 3 different high school levels. So you go to elementary school till up till 4th grade, and after 4th grade, you sit down. Your parents sit down with your high school with your elementary teacher, and they will evaluate how you've been doing in elementary school, and then depending on your grades and behavior, you will go either to the highest level of high school or to the middle level, and each level has a name, and or to the lowest level. With the highest level, you can actually go to university and get a bachelor's degree and move upwards. With the lower level, you can get your university degree with every single level of high school, but with the lower level, after you graduate from that high school, you will have to go to another school and get your high school diploma. So that might take you 3 years instead of two extra years. And then with the lowest level, so it's a little different. It's a little complicated, but basically there are 4 different high schools, and all these different high schools are the differences are, so the highest high school is a lot more challenging. So that's for people that I guess are more advanced. So I went to that high school. I got my high school diploma, which then led me to go to university. So in America, you all just go to one high school, right?
Yeah, for the most part, unlike Brentwood High School, where our school district is so big that we have to have a specific 9th grade center, so that this way we can integrate all of our 9th graders, and then we go into the actual high school itself, where it's actually broken down into 3 different high schools, for the different sides, because the way,
Oh, wow.
yeah, no. So the way Brentwood's broken down, Brentwood's so big that people forget that how many students are really in Brentwood. Like my graduating class was about damn near 1,100 students, and if not a little over 1,100, close to 1,200 students. That's what it was. It was close to 1,200 students was my graduating class. And when the way it's divided is you have first all the separate elementary schools for each side of Brentwood, the north side, the south side, the east side, and the west side. There is like 2 elementary schools per side. Then there's 1 middle school per side where they have 6th through 8th grade. And then they have the 9th grade center, which is the freshman center, which is also low key. It's a very subliminal messaging to what it could be, what it means to be locked up, because they had us in this very small little school where you have to go one direction. You can't go, you don't have the freedom to go the other way. Say if your class was right here, but then your next period class was about two classrooms down the other way, you would have to go around the whole entire school to then get to the room that was 2 classes down. And if you were caught going the other way, you were stopped by security. And then if you were caught doing it multiple times, or if you gave security a little bit of lip with it, they would bring you down to then the front office and you would get written up for something. So it was like a low key, like the subliminal messaging to what it means to be, what it could mean to be locked up. So that's one thing that
Wow.
I personally do not like at all. And it's a little bit of because if my graduating class was 1,200 students, that means there's 1,200 students at one time when the bell rings going all in one direction. And
that's a lot of people.
Yeah. And kids of all sizes and all that stuff. There was a second level at certain points, but there's, again, once you get to the second level, it's all one direction. You can't just go to the, all the way around. So, but other than that, I really don't know any other school districts on Long Island or in general that have here in America that have a specific one center. And then we get to the high school where there's the Sonderling and Ross buildings, which is the north side and the west side students of the middle school then go to Sonderling. Then it's the east side and the south side goes to Ross. And then in the middle, there's the DiPietro, where they have the art wing, the mini gym, ROTC wing for people who are junior ROTC wing for people who are doing the JROTC. I would be one of them. But it was and in that high school, you have the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So then that's basically roughly about 1,100 students every single year, like flushing in and out of high school. Right now, I believe there's about close to 7,000 or 8,000 students in the high school in that high school currently right now. And
Oh wow.
also to give you a perspective, like schools like Smithtown only have a some Smithtown schools have a graduating class of uh, like 100, 200 maybe. We had 1,200. Like it was, and it also had the last name W. Does not help either. That's sitting all the way at the end, just watching
Yeah.
everybody. That was a very, very, very long and hot day. But other than that, no, that's like I said before, compared to your education system, I don't know any other schools aside from Brentwood that does the same thing.
But we are not divided because of the amount of people. In Germany, they divide the high schools because of um, the way people are educated and also the level of intelligence, if I'm being that blunt.
Yeah,
So that,
it's
which is
okay to be that
actually
blunt.
blows my mind. Yeah, it blows my mind because I think it's better to have everyone in one group than dividing up the society or students. And it gets very groupy, and people are like, "Oh, you're in that higher level of high school. I don't, you know best about this topic." People would actually come up to me and be like, "Oh, you're in that high school. You probably know how to do this math problem." So that's one example. But um, going maybe into specifics like tests or how you're quizzing or how you obtain knowledge, what I've seen in America, people do a lot, or students do a lot more um, multiple choice. Whereas in Germany, we would have to every day I would have to study the material I learned in biology the day before, and every single day they would pick out one student and bring that student to the front and question the student on the material. So you would actually have to memorize everything, and we would get graded on that. So every day I would go with anxiety to school because I would have 5 different class subjects and I would have to be prepared for every single one, because every single teacher would pick one student, and we would have to go in front of the classroom, and then they would quiz us for like 5 or 10 minutes on the material that we learned in the class before. And our exams and tests, they are definitely not multiple choice. They are written up tests, so you would have to memorize a lot more material, which I think with multiple choice you can get away with a lot of things. And if you know
Absolutely.
material like a little bit, you can even still like succeed. So that's one big difference. I feel like it's a lot stricter in Germany and a lot more work. You learn a lot more, I think. But yeah, so that's probably the main difference I've seen,
Well, you're not
especially
wrong
going.
about that. Multiple choice definitely does help people a little bit more so like achieve a passing grade than writing it out. Just because when you write it out, you have to physically remember the word that you're writing out, and you're having that
Yeah,
mind-body connection, and you're actually obtaining the information a little bit more because you have to write out that information. And so I do see where the level of intelligence is a little bit more. Um, I want to say favorable towards Germany in that sense,
yeah,
just because there's so many multiple choices, so many ways for people to cheat tests here in America, and get through exams without having to really do the work. And you know, not gonna lie, when I was in high school, I was that little bit of a peeker looking over at people's tests, and I'm pretty sure to get a
who wa-
little bit of shit from people. Yeah, exactly.
who
Who
wa-
wasn't? But I would get it bad, especially in ninth grade. Oh my god! When I was in that freshman center, there was a couple of times where I got called out big time, especially in earth science, where the teachers had enough of my shit. She says, "All right, you're enough." She grabbed my paper and moved me to the complete opposite side of the class because I just could not understand some of the. Forgot exactly what it was, but it was for some reason science and math were just my two things. Where it's just like, nah. But the second you start throwing in numbers and letters, you lost me. But
I feel
but
that.
yeah, but other than that, you put me into a history lesson, you put me into writing, you can put me into all the other things. Like if you give me time to slow down my speech and all that stuff to go back and when I type, yeah, I do have a little bit of I want to say improper way of speaking English, but it's just because it's a conversation here. I don't give a shit. I'm not here giving a
Yeah,
lecture.
I
But
agree.
uh it's like that's not what this type of stuff is about. But yeah, so going back to the whole education system and testing, Especially I feel like now post pandemic,
Mhm.
it's now made it easier than ever to cheat on exams with the online testing. Like you can have that
Yep.
freedom to now, have a separate computer. Like I have a little separate monitor here, like that you can't even see that's on my screen. So if I'm even looking up at a testing and they're
Mhm.
recording me, they're watching me. It's not like I don't have the answers. It's literally right here next to me, and I could just do this, and then you can't even see my eyes. Where,
There's so
yeah,
many ways. It's hard.
yeah,
It's a lot harder to just actually learn the material online because people are lazy. People try
hmm
to get away with stuff. But actually, like the language component, that actually just came to my mind. In high school, I started learning English when I was in fifth grade, and from fifth grade up till high school in Germany goes from fifth grade till 12th grade. I know in America it's like nine to 10 to 12th, right?
yeah. That's our
And
high school, 9 through 12.
yeah, yeah, and we had to learn. We were everyone was it was mandatory to learn English, and then you can choose between French or Latin. So I chose Latin, which I didn't really like, but then I stopped with Latin and I chose Spanish. And what I really noticed is that with in Germany, it was a lot more stricter to actually be fluent and have conversations in the languages. So especially with English, what was really awesome, we got to debate in the language. Um, we read books. We had discussions. We had presentations in the language. So it was really awesome to learn English in Germany in high school. And most of the people in Germany speak English. So that's a big difference too, because I know most people here speak Spanish, like the majority, I feel like, but also most people just speak English. Not to
But
be
also,
rude.
yeah, it depends on what part of the Long Island that you also go to, and or anywhere in the world. Like there's still a good portion of this country that will, the second they hear Spanish, they look at you like, huh? Like, what did you say to me? Like, what did that just come out your mouth? But growing up in Brentwood, yeah, it's very useful here because almost every store you go into,
Right.
almost every place you go into, almost any school that guaranteed, you're gonna run into people who know Spanish. And when I say that the culture is very much accepted, it's embraced to the point that even myself, not having no Spanish to me whatsoever, but being asked to be in these quinceañera courts just because I know
Mhm.
how to dance a little bit. Like the amount of times that lessons I went through growing up, going to these courts, I learned how to dance bachata, salsa, merengue, cumbia, and all that stuff.
There you
And I love
go.
spicy food. Like that's,
Yeah.
it's like the little things like that where it's like I embraced the culture as well. It also didn't help that I was, dating a Peruvian woman my entire time in
Yeah.
high school, and uh, for 5 years, I was dating a Peruvian woman, and then
Hmm.
the family alone embraced me alone. So I'm very thankful for them
That's
educating me
awesome.
on a lot of that culture as well. Like
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
like that's one thing that's I feel like that was the other thing I wanted to ask. Uh, like visiting friends or making friends here, and then having to like meeting families, and then meeting their families. Have you gone over to like friends' houses and stuff like that? Being here in America.
Yeah. Um, so when I first came here, I met my boyfriend. And when I first met his family, they were very open. Everyone I meet, not only my boyfriend's family, but then American girlfriends' families or host families that are American. Most people are very friendly. They're very welcoming, and everyone is super interested in the culture. And they always have a lot of questions. And first question mostly, how do you like America? Stuff like that. So I had a great experience meeting people. Some people were nicer than others. Some relationships ended, some relationships stayed. But yeah, I think I had great experiences, and I definitely got to connect with a lot of Latin American people as well, which I loved. Since coming from Portugal, like the Portuguese culture, Spanish culture is similar, so you get to bond over it, and you have like the same like vibe, the same passion, and it's really fun. So yeah.
Yeah, you would definitely do well over here in Brentwood because I get to. I can't tell you the amount of quinceañeras that I was either invited to
Really?
or two. Oh yeah, it's I would say at this point it's the dominant culture here, and not that it's a problem with anything like that whatsoever. And I don't know why some
That's
people do
awesome.
have an issue with it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
disgusting that we live in a world that the fact that some people see this Hispanic culture coming in heavily as an issue. And when in reality, that's all this
Yeah.
country was, is just a country of immigrants. Like this country started as
You're
being a
right.
country of immigrants. So I don't know why they're more embraced, because if it's you're truly living by the country's values, which is we are united, and you look for that, and if you're somebody who also preaches that damn Bible and you live, what is it? You will help thy neighbor when they need it.
Mhm.
A lot of people are quick to slam the doors versus opening up their, you know,
Especially when they see like
helping hand.
differences, especially when they see cultural differences or differences they're not used to it. People a lot of times push them away or judge it. But I agree. I think people should embrace differences, especially culturally. I love culture and I love learning about different cultures, different people, different traditions. So I don't understand either why
No,
people
yeah,
don't are
it's
so
exactly why I
judgy.
started this podcast and all, just because I want people to get that information out that are too stubborn to listen to anybody else. Because it's important to have those opposite conversations. Not everybody's
Mhm.
always going to think like you. Not everyone's going to have the same opinion as you, and it doesn't always mean that your opinion's right. Like you could have been raised a certain way your entire life and have been led down these maniacal lies that were uh, tattooed into your brain, but can easily be removed just by sitting down with somebody on the opposite side of the conversation and who may have
Mhm.
the actual truth and can really settle that little bit of a hatred slash aggression towards whatever you may be thinking.
Yeah, I've even like I know discrimination is very big in the United States, but it's actually also big in Germany. So I know like the majority of immigrants are more from South America here in the United States. In Germany, to just have like a comparison, most most immigrants I would say are from Eastern Europe. We have a really big Turkish community, and growing up I saw a lot of times, especially being from Portugal, I saw a lot of times people being dismissive or people being not as nice to people with a diverse or foreign background. So that is definitely a thing as well in Germany. But I grew up with so many different friends from different cultures. I had friends from Turkish culture, from Turkey, Russian, from France, from Spain, from Portugal. So there was definitely a very diverse community growing up. And I loved learning about them and loved learning about their cultures because at the end of the day, they're just normal people like us with different traditions and
Yeah, and they
different
just
cultures.
speak different. They have a different color skin. They have a different, kind of texture of hair. They have different color eyes. But it doesn't mean that if you don't cut us all open, we're still you don't bleed the same blood.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
bleed red. We bleed red. We have the same bones. We have the same lungs. We breathe the same air. I don't understand when people, and especially in today's world with the amount of information that we have now out there, literally from in the access on the palm of your hand, that is, you can hate somebody so by just the color of their skin or by what they believe. I still have yet to understand by people that live by these lies still, and they want to
Yeah.
hold on to them because it makes them feel good, like these, especially the ones who do nothing but listen to the lies and the propaganda that the news like
Oh my God.
continuously spews.
Mhm.
Oh my,
It's
it's
a headache, a massive headache.
when I not even, it's a damn migraine. It's
Yeah.
it comes to a point where I really question if you're ever truly listening or with the intent of trying to obtain information versus just listening to feed the ego. Like if you're listening to the feed the ego, as in if you are currently somebody who was, I'm not trying to get as political with them. I really don't. I hate talking about politics, but I'm going to get a little political with it, just slightly, very, very slightly. If you're somebody who was voted for Trump back in 2016, obviously right now you have a lot to say. With I'm not going to say you don't have a right to say it. I'm not going to say that what you're saying is wrong either, because I have a huge problem with this administration and there's a lot that's going on with it that I do not like as well. But with that being said, uh, the amount of times that the second President Biden's name is mentioned, they're throbbing at the mouth, like, oh, what did he fuck up on with now? What did he fuck up with now? What did he do? What did he
Yeah.
mumble? Like, it's like they're thriving, they're waiting for that next moment so that they can just feed that ego, feed that anger, because it makes them feel fucking good, because they know that for a fact that he's a man that's losing it literally right now, mentally and physically and everything about it. He's literally fucking losing it. And it's just a complete mind boggle when they say, I don't know why I'm always so angry. Motherfucker, you're feeding your anger every day. Like, and you have a question why no people want to. Some people don't want to speak to some people. You've been cut off. Why you've been ignored, because
Mhm.
you're indulging in these negative lifestyles. You're indulging in the
Yeah.
bullshit. You're indulging in the hatred that is
It's
just
hard to talk
connecting
to
with your
people
real
like
life.
that. It's hard to talk to people that are close-minded like that because I don't know, they're so strict in they're so in their own bubble that you can't really even talk about something else than their own beliefs.
I feel
But
sorry for those people. I genuinely do feel
that's
sorry for those people.
me too. Me too. What can you do?
Exactly. And I get a lot of shit for some of the things I do talk about, but regardless, I love my country to death. I love my country. I gave 3 years of my country, I gave three
Thank you
years of
for
my life to
your
my
service.
country. Oh, thank you for your support. But in reality, I did nothing but a bunch of stateside fucking missions. I didn't do anything unlike the real heroes who are currently still being uh I want to say, I don't want to say chastised, but we have real heroes that are being looked at in a negative manner for what they may think or what they may believe. And regardless, if you laced up a pair of boots, if you went overseas and you have, I want to say, the heart to really die for your country,
Hmm.
I it's just it mind boggles me that there's still so many people who look at them as like they're the enemy, when in reality they're not the ones who are going on the mission voluntarily. Like it's a lot of being told, you got to go here, you got to go there, you got to go there, just because they want to support their family and do their best for what's best for their country. But in reality, a lot of times it wasn't always what was best. So I forgot where I was going with this. I'm sorry. It's a topic where I start to, just because of how many lives we've lost due to the negligence of our government, both
Yeah.
service members in and outside of the military right now. Veterans and all, prior service, currently serving. There's a lot that's not being talked about when it comes down, especially to the mental health. I mean, there's a lot that has now been talked about, but it's only just now, and it's still not accepted by a lot of people, that the fact that a lot of our veterans are in need of help. And whenever I start to talk about anything with the military, it starts to just really, like, I want to say it's it's just the passion I have to want the
It was great.
flip off the fucking government as much as possible for what you have done to our men and women.
Hmm.
Especially to the sharp cases where, to those who don't know what sharp is, it's sexual harassment. Basically, to shorten it up. And whenever something like that happens, and the amount of times that there's women in the military are currently going through it right now, and because their NCO is the one, their non-commissioned officer, their leader is the one that's doing the manipulating, the touching, the sexual harassment. They can't say shit. So there's just a lot that's going on in the military right now that I personally do not agree with. And I also, it's not necessarily the military in itself, but it's
Mm-hmm.
um, the people in the leadership, the toxic leadership. Like, oh my God, it's on several different topics. But this is why I do a podcast. This is
That's
why I can't do
okay.
a short interview, because we
That's
just
okay.
the fucking rants just come flying out.
Actually, you're reminding me of something, of like another difference I can share.
Please do.
So, and not only I feel like not only are Americans very prideful, and patriotic, which I admire. And first day I came here, people, they love to tell me about what there is that I can explore, and what there is that I can experience on Long Island and in general in the United States. So I love that. I really love that and admire that, to this day. There's still so much more to explore. But in Germany, I feel like people are proud as well, but it's not as present, I would say. People people aren't as, I don't know, it just doesn't come over as prideful as it comes here, as it does here. Um, but that also connects to kind of my experience at community college now. Being at Suffolk, I've been part of a lot of like service learning projects and just volunteering and community service in general. In Germany, I never really volunteered ever, and I don't
Really?
know. I did a lot of service related tasks, but people, like I helped in my church. I was, how do you say, like an assistant to the priest. I don't know what that is called. What that is called in German, in English, but that's what I did, and I
It
did some.
depends on the religion. There's altar boy, there's altar girl.
Yeah, an altar
Okay.
girl. I got, yeah, that's what I was. So I did that, and you could consider that community service. I did some community service, but I didn't really have like, I don't know. I know here when you go to high school, people like, students are required to collect some community service, especially it's very attractive to see in college applications. And that is not a thing in Germany at all. I feel like people or universities don't really look much at community service. So what I've seen here, stuff topics that are really important to be talking about, such as mental health or sexual abuse or child slavery or global warming, so on, so on. People talk about them here, and people advocate for whatever they're passionate about. So that's what I've seen, and that's what I've definitely admired and enjoyed so far being at community college, because I've been able to participate in those projects, volunteer, and stuff I'm actually passionate about, and which I haven't had the opportunity to do. And I wasn't even really thinking of doing community service in Germany, but here, I don't know, I got into it, and it's really nice to like give back to the community. And that really like made Long Island feel like a home to me, because I was getting to know the community. For example, I volunteered at at a Healthy Kids running series and at Hop High School. So I really, through community service, I learned a lot more about the island itself, about the people, about the community, about what issues there are. So that was really something I enjoyed and impacted me as a person, and as just to reflect also on what I believe and what is important to me and what you can do. So stuff like that is a big difference, because I don't think I would have gained those experience in Germany. I don't think I would have gained leadership experience or as much leadership. I'm sure I would have gained them in some ways, but here that was more present, and I was really active in different clubs, organizations, and community service. So I gained a lot of things that I don't think I would have gained in Germany.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny that you say that, because I wanted to ask you about that, next. So this past November, was it November? When I was on campus that one day?
Yeah.
Pretty sure,
I,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's for around the
mhm.
Veterans Day time. And so we did. So the Suffolk County Community College Veterans Community happens to do
Mhm.
an event during the week of Veterans Day, and they invited me being a personal trainer. They invited me over to call out the push-up count, which we were doing 22 push-ups every 22 minutes, and at the end talked a little bit more about the mental health, just because, like I said before, and it's very much not so much anymore. Like it's getting better now, but for the longest time, the mental health aspect in the military was always just it went down to one saying, "Man up." So, and that was it. In reality,
Mhm.
there was a lot of emotions that needed to be worked on. There's a lot of times that
Right.
therapy could have definitely helped out, and people need to start realizing that therapy, regardless if you're going through a bad time or a good time, is definitely important. Like it's you want to talk to somebody when you're having good times and bad times, but aside from that, again, fuck, I forgot exactly where I was going with this.
You want to talk about? I was talking about my community service experience in
Yes, yes, yes,
college.
yes, 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 yes. And I remember. So I remember now you are talking about leadership. You, not that
Hmm.
long ago, you went on a trip, a leadership conference, if I'm not mistaken, or yes. So what was that like going on the conference
Yeah.
for
So
your school?
I would love to talk about that. That was definitely something that was part of my life for the past 2 years, and I spent a lot of time into that. So starting when I started at Suffolk, I didn't really know anyone, and I wanted to get involved on campus. So there's a 2 year there for 2 year colleges. There's an honor society called Phi Theta Kappa International Honor Society. They're a nonprofit organization, and they support high achieving students in community colleges to go beyond their beliefs, go beyond whatever they think they're capable of, and grow as a leader, scholar, and person. So I had the opportunity to get involved with my local chapter. I got involved in all these different service projects I told you about, and then I wanted to bring my leadership and a lifelong commitment to service to another level. And I decided to get involved in the regional aspect of the organization. And I got to lead the New York region as regional president with a team with a group of people and my advisor. So that was a really big experience. And last weekend, no, was it last weekend? Yeah, I think actually it was last weekend. We had our first in-person regional conference, which was really awesome. So we have different Phi Theta Kappa chapters located in the United States, but then in the New York region, they all traveled to Albany. We stayed at the Jasmin Hotel, and we had a 3-day conference about transferring, about different projects that and regional initiatives that I created and my team created. So we talked about the results, and we also elected the new regional officer team. So through this experience, I really gained a great amount of confidence that I never really had in aspects of talking in front of a big crowd of people or just talking in general to people. Um, so that experience gave me a really um, improved my leadership skills, but also my public speaking skills. And that conference was basically my goodbye conference because my officer team ended the term. We served one year in the New York region. We got to create a lot of regional projects that would benefit students in community colleges. For example, I created this project. It was called New York Collaborates, where we encouraged chapters in New York State to collaborate with each other on a common goal, preferably on a service project that would benefit their community. So I marketed that through a social media campaign, and we had different chapters participate, which was really awesome. I think we had 12 chapters participate, and we had chapters collaborate on projects such as food insecurities in community colleges. Mental health was very big. We had another project about fast fashion and how that affects our generation. And yeah, so those were topics that people collaborated on because I had the opportunity to kind of create this concept, and we had other projects as well. But yeah, that was really fun. I really got to improve my English a lot throughout serving in my local chapter as president, and then in the region as president, and I'm graduating this May, as I already told you. So my time's ending slowly in a community college, but it's been so awesome. And being an international student at community college, there are not many. Most international students go straight to a four-year institution, but and not only are you able to save a lot of money, but you're also able to get involved in all these different on-campus events that people definitely underestimate, because they are actually what make the experience at community college so interesting and so profitable, because you really have to make the best out of what is given to you. And I think I really did that, actually, which I'm proud for.
Which me one first off, because technically you're kind of going to be my client originally. So when I say that, I'm genuinely proud of you, just because I remember talking to you, and it was like the summertime last year that we trained together. So
yeah,
it's an honor to really get to really see you firsthand grow as into the leadership position that you just threw yourself onto. And I want to know what made you want to become that. What made you want to step into that leadership role?
So the officer team that kind of welcomed me into the honor society. Also, it's not a sorority or a fraternity, because a lot of people think that of Phi Theta Kappa. It's really like an academic honor society where you focus on growing as a leader and getting involved in service projects. So they were super welcoming, and this one girl was the current chapter president, and she was very inspiring to me, and she really helped me to get acclimated to the environment at community college, especially for me. For me, everything was, let me just drink something. My throat.
Yeah, go right ahead. As she drinks a White Claw.
I know, very American.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, I also have water here. No, but she was very
drinking over here. Yes.
Good, that's better for you. So she was very welcoming, and she was super inspiring. And I saw what she was able to do, and that she got involved in different projects. And then she also told me about the benefits of being part of Phi Theta Kappa and being in leadership positions. And as you know, like international students, they pay out-of-state tuition with their visa, so everything is a lot more expensive. And especially coming from Europe, where school is practically for free, and coming here, it was very hard to kind of make this dream possible for me. And Phi Theta Kappa helped me to get closer to the scholarships I actually needed, and just to make this dream, or this goal of mine, getting my life in the United States started, possible. So that was another reason. But I also just wanted to become more confident and grow in myself, and just do something out of my comfort zone, because my au pair experience showed me that if you go out of your comfort zone and do something you're afraid of, you will actually always grow from it and get better, and you will impress yourself. And I don't know, that au pair experience really inspired me to take on stuff that I have actually no idea about, and I'm kind of scared about. So I did that, and I'm so happy I did, because I definitely it was obviously not easy. It was very busy, and we're still working on a lot of stuff on a lot of projects on school, which keeps me very busy, especially with classes and stuff. But it's just so profitable, and it really impacted me on like a personal level, but also professionally. My resume is really, really amazing now. It's really strong now.
I mean, I'd say so. You've traveled not only just to this country, but around this country as well, in the passion of not only just your leadership, but just for your school and for education. And it's incredible that you've achieved it while with the mind state that you don't think, not a problem. For the mind state of not a lot of people, even just in this country, of doing community college first and then going into actual 4 year, schooling, because people want that degree so fast. People want to get, right into the career. When reality is, like, if you actually step back and enjoy the process, you have, an example like yourself where you're able to get, comfortable being uncomfortable and getting yourself into
Mhm.
these roles that not only will look great on a resume, but is a example for the peers that are around you for your age, and that what they see on social media, it's, it's a positive example for the youth that are, questioning, uh, you know, should I do, is community college really worth it first before going to, an actual career? And reality is, if I had my, if I went back to the college route, I would definitely do the community college first and then go into the 4 year degree. But being that I have my certifications, fairly comfortable with where I'm at, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
You, but overall though, it's definitely I want to say a bar that you're setting for for someone your age, and for someone that is not only your
Yeah.
age but just traveling the countries, like traveling the world, and in pursuit of education. You're setting the bar of like what it means to be not only just a student in another country, but to also then literally take the bull by the horns and then step into leadership roles and then start leading people, and it's just motivational, honestly. Like that the fact
Thank
that you're
you.
from a different country and you're
Thank
here
you so
stepping
much.
into these roles.
That was actually another reason why I decided to get involved, or and get involved on campus in that organization. Because I wanted to show. I realized that just now at the end of this term, that I actually some girls came up to me, and they were from different backgrounds. It was a very diverse group of girls. They were like 18, 19 years old. That just started community college. They came up to me and they told me they're also immigrants, and they look up to me, and they actually are excited. They're interested in running for a regional office as well for Phi Theta Kappa, because they saw that I'm an international student and English wasn't my first language. So they were kind of inspired, and they told me that, and that
So
really
you're
touched my
setting the
heart.
example. That's literally setting the
Yeah,
example, and
and that
you
is
literally are have it's literally happening to you as you fucking speak right now.
that really that made me so emotional in that moment, and I was so happy to hear that, because they were from a different country as well. They were different, but because of their differences, they shouldn't put themselves into a corner and be silent. So I told them, I encouraged them to run for the office and advocate for whatever they're passionate about, whether that would be maybe diversity, inclusion, or or the environment, whatever it is they're passionate about. They should talk about it, and they shouldn't be afraid of what other people think, because at the end of the day, we all are the same people, and no one really gives a shit about. Uh, it really doesn't matter. Nothing is too serious, really. So
Exactly.
it was really awesome to kind of see people being inspired, which I didn't think that would ever happen. But them coming up to me, that was really very special moment. So
It
yeah.
comes unexpected, these moments of inspiring others. Like, never did I think that I'd be the one to really start changing lives when I was the one who needed a life change a
Mhm.
couple of years ago. That's one thing that is, I want to say that if you're if you're a religious person or if you're a spiritual person, I do believe that there comes a point in time in your life where, the higher power basically puts you into a place where you needed to be your entire life in order to get you to where you wanted to be in reality. Because in multiple cases, and I'll give you the best example of when I was pursuing for my basically my entire life, either a long year. I've talked about this a couple times in the podcast, but my tenure of going through the process of not only staying as a lifer in the military, doing the 20 years and then getting out, and then also pursuing a career as a law enforcement as a police officer. And when the time came when I needed to check myself, because there was a point in time where I knew I didn't have any real control over my emotional state. I had a hard time dealing when people, poked really, really deep into my skin. Like there has been very few times where I've kind of, snapped onto in a certain incident. One example is when I was back in basic and back in basic training, and someone had, jokingly, moved my bunk off my bed. But what some people didn't know is that I had a Bible under my pillow. And when I saw my Bible on the floor, I kind of went into a blacked out state and started flipping over everyone else's bunk, punched a few lockers, ended up really damaging this knuckle for the good, like, I want to say year and a half. So that was my first red flag. And then also the culture and the environment and how they also love alcohol they love it like nothing.
Oh,
They drink
yeah.
as much as water. And me personally, just having the childhood trauma from having parents who drank, who now they're coming up on 7 years sober. They are now 7 years sober this year. Like this year will make it 7 years sober. So I do want to shout out and major congratulations to them for being 7 years sober.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's definitely that's not an easy thing to do, but between the combination of the alcohol growing up and the shit we saw then, and then as well as what they were like when they were drunk, rubbing off then on me as I got older, and also me not knowing my limit and consuming drink after drink after drink after drink, and then getting to a level of blacked out that I become a disgusting, ugly monster that is very ugly, aggressive, and violent. So I knew I came to a point where I didn't need to drink anymore. And then also being around an environment where everyone drinks, on top of also where I was at mentally, and reality like kicked in for me one day. And it was once I was, excuse me, it came out once I was honorably discharged that I really sat down and had like a one-to-one in the mirror. And it was, am I doing this because I want to now, or am I doing this because of the money at the end of the day? Am I doing this for that financial security? Am I doing this for that, guaranteed paycheck and all that stuff? And the reality is, with the amount of jobs I worked growing up, well over 14 jobs, I could not work a regular 9 to 5 for the fucking life of me. I was always like that one guy who was either needing the break in the middle of the day, or I would be calling out. Like, I wasn't really the greatest worker, but I would definitely work hard when I worked. But attendance was a little bit would be my issue. But excuse me for 1 second, quick sip.
Me too.
Yeah, that was. Sometimes mouth gets a little too dry, but the fuck, and there it goes. You see it? It went that way. My train of thought.
It went that way. Yeah.
My train of thought went right out the window that way.
No, you were talking about not being the best person for 9 to 5.
Yes, exactly. So I always had an issue with that. So then now here comes the personal training industry. Something where it's more clientele based, and it's rather their time and your time working at the same time. And you don't necessarily always have to be doing things on the gym floor unless you're actually doing, floor hours for the gym and you're doing something to advertise yourself. It became more of the lifestyle I felt comfortable in. And when I started doing it, I didn't think I was going to do it as a full-time career. I thought of it as, this is a good job until I figure out what the hell I want to do now that I don't want to become a police officer. So got my certifications and all that stuff. And then I started really training heavy. And then I started to gain a little bit more of a clientele, both in and outside of certain gyms of where I worked at. And now a year ago this April, a year ago this April, I was hired at the current gym I'm working for, which has been the best gym I've ever worked for and also worked out in, being Unique Fitness, and over out in Holbrook, right off of that highway, for those who ever want to come take a visit. it's actually wearing, not no like planning or anything. I'm actually wearing one of the hoodies. But after doing this now for a year, there's really nothing else I feel that can end this current moment. Aside from owning my own facility and then giving back more to my community that way, and giving out scholarships to the underprivileged, and getting to that point in the future.
Mhm.
But as far as like aside from the bigger picture, the current picture right now looks like I really am going to be pursuing this personal training thing, or fitness trainer slash mental health coach and all this stuff, just because it's not only does it not feel like work to me, but it also genuinely gives me that feeling of that I'm doing something that's going to serve my community in the manner of the same feeling that I was hoping that I was going to get when I was serving the community as a military police officer for the United States Army National Guard. And then when I was also pursuing a career in law enforcement, that same feeling of fulfillment from my community is what I'm still feeling now, even though that I'm doing a completely different job.
Yeah.
But it's that fulfillment that I actually thought I was going to feel, but I'm feeling it even more so than I ever have before. Like last night, I genuinely had like a setback moment where damn near almost brought a tear to my eye, where it was just like, I can't believe that I actually am where I'm at today. Like from where I was
Wow.
just 4 years ago. It's just like that level of like
Mhm.
appreciation, that level of
That is
gratitude.
awesome.
And I talked about it a little bit today on the story as well. Like that level of gratitude, uh, it's an attitude that doesn't come easy. It comes with waking up
Mhm.
and every day appreciating each day, regardless if it's a good day or a bad day. And regardless, it's turning those bad days into character building days.
Yeah.
It's taking the mistakes that you make then and turning them into lessons, and then taking the lessons and then turning them into blessings. Like it's
Yeah.
the little things like that where I've learned in this industry, where I've learned doing this career, where I've learned on working on myself, where I've learned on, just the conversations I've had from several different clients.
Mhm. It's
No,
not easy to get there. Like it's not
no.
easy to get to wherever you want to be, especially something you are passionate about. Because I'm still on my way to get wherever you are. So I really want to congratulate you because that is really awesome. And to be able to inspire someone every day with something you're passionate about, that is really something I guess everyone wants to do, especially me.
Well,
So
I genuinely do appreciate that. And,
congratulations.
and it's very comforting for me to know that there's somebody who is, I'm not that much older than you, but I still have, a little bit of a gap.
A
But
little bit.
it's nice to know that there's someone like yourself who is ready to take that next step into inspiring others to do better and be better. It's
Mhm.
it takes a special kind of person to have that kind of passion for it, and
Yeah.
the the the, the concept of actually listening with the intent of understanding versus listening with the intent of replying, because that's all too often in today's world where everyone wants to just, they're quiet for a second letting you talk, but in
Hmm.
reality it's just because they're thinking about what they're going to say to you next and not really listening to what you're saying and taking in that information.
Hmm.
And me, I take pride in that I am a genuine good listener, where that's another reason why I started this, because I can sit back and I can listen to somebody talk for 10,
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes. I want to listen. Like the best advice I ever was ever given in my entire life was back in 2014 by my cousin, who said, be a sponge. No matter where you are, no matter where you go, no matter who you're talking to, be a sponge, because you're going to soak up as much
Absorb.
information as much as possible. Yeah. And when it comes time to squeeze out, you'll be surprised at how much knowledge you have officially obtained. But
Hmm.
uh, it's it's just overall like even more motivating for me to continue what I'm doing, to hear that someone like yourself is just inspired by the work that I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And that's even making me more like feeling like that gratitude attitude. Like it just it's a level of gratitude, it's a level of appreciation that when you wake up, the first thing that you just say is just thank you. Or
Hmm.
it's that kind of attitude. Like regardless of your situation, just waking up and saying thank you because you have another day to change your situation.
Yeah.
But It's time for the motivational talk. I can go on that fucking motivational rants.
That's all
But
right. I love it. I love motivational talks.
well, I appreciate that. And the one thing that I do want to say on that topic of motivation is that if you're somebody that is relying on motivation for change, you are wasting your own time. You need to get yourself disciplined and get yourself consistent and get yourself into that attitude of actually doing what the fuck you want to do and what the hell
Right.
you're going to say you're going to do. That all the things that you say you're going to do, that you say you're going to be this, you say you're going to do that. You don't do that by just sitting on your phone and watching people do what you want to do. You get up, get to work, and you work your ass off, and then you continue to work smart and work
Yeah,
hard.
I agree with that, but I feel like a lot of times people lack the resources to do so. Because I
True.
feel like most people want to uh, actually work and get going and do whatever they want, they are passionate about to achieve those goals they have. But a lot of people lack the resources, but that could be like financially
Mhm.
or I don't know, and
No,
so
dude,
on.
you're not wrong about that,
Yeah,
but
definitely
but
want to mention. Yeah.
yeah, because when it comes down to financial hardships, there's nobody who can understand that more than myself. I grown up in a very poor household, like a time frame where I can distinctively remember when I was 12 years old, coming home from a religious camp that I was going to, or a religious
Hmm.
school that I was going to at the time, and I remember looking into the fridge and just seeing nothing but like mustard, maybe some ketchup, some condiments and stuff like that, but then just
Hmm.
like straight up empty. And then just seeing the garbage can and seeing empty bottles. Like, trust me when I understand, like,
Oh man.
financial hardships are a real thing. And when I do understand that there are people who rather spend their money on other things because they had developed an addiction towards it, again, I'm completely understanding. But I'm also the one to say that I was all done that same route. And when it's it's not sitting there and waiting to be saved. It's doing, even if it's the smallest thing of just getting yourself up and like walking around or doing push-ups, or even if it's the smallest thing is like writing down goals for the future, like the
Hmm.
very bare minimum like steps towards those
That's true.
goals. Those are what are count. Those are the steps, or is what counts. Not that giant step from like seeing $100 every week or $100 every 2 weeks
Hmm.
to the next day you wake up and boom, there's like $500 going into your bank account. Like the one
Step
thing
by
I
step.
do, yeah, step by step, like
Yeah.
this what I make now currently with this career. When I first started, it's disgusting. Like when I first think back about when I first started this personal training career, I peanut butter jelly sandwiches, ramen noodles, putting $5 in the tank of gas to get just to the gym and back, basically,
Hmm.
whenever I can. Like, I thankfully I had like some fuel efficient cars, but when people tell me all the time, like they're like, not people tell me all the time, but when people tell me that they are not there because of that person, or they're being held back because of this person, they're being held back from this and that because of that, a lot of this, a lot of pointing fingers, and not a
Yeah.
lot of pointing fingers in the other direction, where yes, that person may have done you wrong, but there is also your character, your action that you took towards that. uh your reaction towards that action is what you're more upset about now, because you misunderstood the situation.
Hmm.
Like, uh it's just so much behind a victim mentality, that when people start waiting to be saved, they start pointing the fingers, they start just sitting there and want to say just soaking in their sorrow,
That is
versus
very true. Yeah.
versus just
Thank you.
genuinely making some type of action.
Yeah.
The weather's getting nicer now. For those who are looking to lose weight, even just a simple action of just start
There.
taking more walks, or even just simple action of if it's raining outside, you don't want to get wet, do some push-ups, some mountain climbers, some jumping jacks, some jump squats, and you'd be surprised just by how much you can do if you're doing them properly. You'd be surprised just how much you would lose just
Yeah.
by doing that. There's like, don't get me wrong. Again, I completely understand with those who also do have mental ailments like depression, anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I completely understand like the weight of the bed. When you're laying in that bed and you don't want to get up, it's even a hard time just putting the 1 foot down off the bed. But it's going to take, if you want to get better, if you genuinely want to get better, there's no other way around it other than taking the baby steps, one step at a time, staying consistent with them, being disciplined with the consistency, and then also taking the time to take a small little look back just to appreciate how far you've come. And when you finally gotten to your
Mm-hmm.
destination of where you want to go, take that full look back and realize, shit, a lot has fucking changed because I stayed consistent and disciplined. Now let me start appreciating this process a little bit more. Then this next step after that, they're going forward with that because guess what?
Climbing
It never
higher.
ends. It never ends. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of I have a good friend of mine, Justin, who comes to the gym a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was training with a client one morning, and we were doing tire flips, and she was asking, "Does this ever
Yeah,
get any
a lot.
easier?"
I see that.
Yeah, she asked, "Does this get any easier at all?" And I looked and I specifically called over Justin because Justin made a major transformation within 6 months. He was able to drop over damn near 30 pounds and drop about I think it was like 8% body fat or 9% body fat off his body. But he
Wow.
stayed consistent and disciplined. Yeah, trust me, there was a major change there. So I happened to saw him. He just showed up. He was warming up. So I waved him down like, yo, come over here real quick. And then I pointed at his physique. I'm saying, not saying that this is the ideal physique for you, because obviously, he's a man and you're a woman. But here's the thing. I wanted to ask you, Justin, does this ever get any easier? And he looks not at me. He looks back at me and he looks at her and he goes, no. And he goes, and if it does, that means you're getting a bullshit training experience. Because in reality, if it's too easy, it's not worth doing or having, because you're now exerting energy that could be used towards actually performing a proper workout. And you're also wasting your time that you're never going to get back. Like, you can always get those dollars back. You can always get that money back. You can always do all these other things to get back, like all these material items. But time, you can't get back. And that time
That is,
wasted is time wasted.
yeah.
That's it. That's the most valuable thing. It's not money. It's time. So when people give me
Mhm.
their time, I'm very much more appreciative of their time rather than their money.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. Time is very valuable.
So, my gosh, speaking of time, wow, oof, an hour in, we're flying right by. Wow, this is great. Um, so just a few other things I want you to describe a difference between, living in Germany versus living in America. How many chemicals are really allowed in Germany's food?
I don't know, but I've definitely experienced a huge difference in the way people eat, eating habits, and people in Germany, or the people I was surrounded with. I don't want to talk for the entire country, but the way I grew up with was a lot of fresh fruit. Thank God, fresh fruit, vegetables, and most meals contained any sort of vegetable. Most breakfasts contained any sort of fruits. So that is definitely a big difference I've noticed, especially being an au pair. A lot of my second host family wasn't the healthiest, and other people I got in contact with, they just had very different eating habits, and there's definitely a bigger amount of processed food in the United States than there is in Germany. But in Germany, we definitely have a lot of processed food as well. But I can't answer that question because I actually don't know. But I do know that just
It was generally like your experience with the food. That was just more so like the it was like a, I want to say just like a quick look. How the fuck do I, like an example of like the difference between the food, because
okay.
I know that we have over 200 chemicals that we put in our foods that are completely illegal across the world. And to give you an example, not trying to get this place, not trying to get this thing demonetized, but certain companies that are fast food pizza, they can't even legally label their cheese as cheese. The FDA cannot give them even though the FDA, and here's one thing that to all you calorie counters and macro measurers, the FDA allows a 25% gap on that nutrition label. So you don't necessarily, it's not necessarily the correct info, because it's 25% off. Like, think of it this way, up to 25% off. Yeah. So for people who count macros, who count all these things out, because they look at the label and they're measuring it out, oh, this says 10 grams of protein, when in reality it could be 15 grams, or even could be 6 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You know, so fuck, another rant that I went off topic with.
I can take over if you don't mind.
Yes, please go right ahead.
When I first came, I definitely tried all the different fast foods there was, because that was part of my experience. I didn't plan to stay another year and pursue my studies. I really was just, okay, this is my gap year. I'm getting to know this different culture. I'm trying all these different things we don't have in Europe. So I tried Chipotle for the first time. I tried Chick-fil-A for the first time. I tried the New York pizza, bagel, whatsoever. And I gained 9 kilograms.
Ooh.
I gained 9 kilograms. And before coming to the United States, I went to the gym consistently. Then with being an au pair, I was so busy and I traveled. I had no routine anymore. So
and the food makes you lazy, because it makes you sleepy. It makes you want to sit there, push into the itis. It's what we call the itis. I don't know if you know what the itis is.
I don't.
So it's something that we call here in America. It's the itis is that feeling of when you are very sleepy or very tired after you've had a big meal, and it's just the food just sits there like a rock, and you want to go to sleep because that food is just sitting there. Yeah, so that's called the itis, and the itis happens a lot in America. It's not because of the food in itself.
Right.
It's the chemicals they put in the food that, unless you're not going to get the same itis feeling as if you eat like a natural organic meal, versus if you go to fucking Applebee's and have, boneless wings and then have their 2 for $20 meal with whatever it may be, because it's not all real natural ingredients that are made for your body to digest. So then it makes your body sleepy, it irritates your gut health. And your gut health is the biggest thing, because then the next day, if you don't reset that gut health, you don't sit there and maybe it has some digestive enzymes in the morning, another bottle of water first hand in the morning, like you're just setting up your metabolism for failure, which will then lead to weight gain.
I definitely experienced some sort of intolerance with cow milk when I came here. I don't really know why, but in Germany, I always drank cow milk when I came here. After having cereal or making oatmeal with cow milk, I definitely felt my stomach bloating and just uncomfort in my stomach. So I switched over to almond milk and oat milk, and that was definitely a lot easier on my stomach and friendlier on my stomach. So I'm still.
Did you ever try organic milk? Do you like the organic cow milk?
No, never.
So I would say try organic cow milk, because there is a certain dye that they use in regular milk where it's like, the 2% whole milk or 1%, unless it's like, an organic grass-fed milk. It has a dye in it where it's going, not saying that the other one doesn't have a dye, but it has a more natural dye for your body to digest, versus some of the other ones where it can really irritate your stomach. And people think it's more lactose, but in reality, it's the chemicals that they're putting into the milk for its shelf life, but then also to kill off any bacteria in the milk and all that stuff. when reality is that we're the only species that is also using another animal as our main source of milk after a certain point in our life. Almond milk and cashew milk I find to be the more healthiest
Uh-huh.
options aside from soy milk. Soy I'm not necessarily a big fan of, just because it's not
Haven't tried.
fully yeah, I wouldn't. And oat
No.
milk again. eh, And oat milk again, I'm not, let's say that I'm not a hater on it, but I'm not the biggest fan of it. But it does have health benefits. But the best beneficial milk you're definitely going to look into is a cashew almond blend, just because it's going to give you, no matter what you mix it with or no matter what you drink
Mhm.
with it, it's going to give you an additional 10 grams of plant-based protein, and it's very limited on what they put into it, because almond milk, I don't even, do you know how to make almond milk?
Yeah, you need to, I think you wash them or then blend them, and then
Yep.
you drain the fluid out of it in like a little sack thingy. I've seen it on TikTok.
Yeah, and making almond milk is, basically just blending up and
Almonds, yeah.
yeah, blending up almonds, water, and everything else, and adding
Yeah.
your whatever sweeteners you want to add into there. But as far as like for a milk, yes, I do say that it's the best, you know, version of it. But like compared to milk overseas, completely different story, because you guys are actually getting real, like the milk that we have over here that we pay extra for is the regular milk
Mhm.
that they have overseas.
Yeah, I don't know. When I came here, that was one big thing that I noticed. My body changed, and
Oh,
I
what about pasta?
pasta. I don't know. I didn't notice any difference with pasta. There are definitely a lot more Italians here on Long Island. I wasn't
Oh
surrounded
yeah,
with.
you definitely. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
this is like between here and Florida and New York City. Obviously, you're not gonna find
so much.
more you're not gonna find more Italians than over here. Like just because
Yeah.
everyone that went from Long Island then moved to Florida.
Oh, yeah. Well, when my parents came and visited me when I was an au pair, I brought them to a place in Brooklyn where we had pepperoni pizza for the first time, and it was a lot greasier and
Mm-hmm.
thicker than in Germany. But it's really tasty. We
Mm-hmm.
can't lie about that. It was really tasty, and they really liked it. And we folded the pizza the New York way and everything.
You know, I got
Um,
shunned for that shit in basic training.
really?
Yeah, because I was sitting across from one of my battle buddies, and who was from Tennessee at the time.
Uh
And
huh.
the one time that they allowed us to have pizza, this was towards the end of when we're graduating. They gave us like pizza for our lunch chow, and uh, I folded my pizza, and they looked at me like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm eating my pizza." Like I didn't know that wasn't a New York, that was not a New York thing. Like I thought that was, just how you fucking ate pizza. Like this is the
Yeah, we
way I
don't do
grew
that
up.
in Europe. We don't fold our pizza. I
Wait,
think people in
what?
Europe. No, my parents, if we go out and have pizza in an Italian restaurant in Germany, knife and fork.
Oh my god! Really? It's fucking knife and fork there too?
Yeah, some people just use their hands, but knife and fork, some
Okay.
people. Yeah.
And then what, they just eat it like this, like they eat just like the side to side. They don't do like
Yeah.
it's just
They
like a
hold.
human
They don't
I
hold
feel like
it.
it's human nature now. Like I feel like it's just a human
Yeah.
nature thing to fold the fucking pizza. It's more convenient. You don't want the grease sitting all over your face. Like how
That is
much you would be
true.
breaking out if you keep eating it like pizza like that. Like it just like it's all around your lips, above your lip. Like the amount of grease is
I
just gonna sit
broke
there.
out when I first came here in my first year. I had really bad acne. I dealt with acne throughout my teenage years a lot, but then it
Got worse
cleared
when you
up.
got here.
Yeah, it got really worse. I mean, with my au pair experience wasn't the best. So mentally, I wasn't really the happiest either. So that was definitely part of it. But just the way I ate definitely reflected on my skin a
Hmm.
lot. So that was like another side effect that I experienced because of the food.
Yeah, I mean, not for nothing. If you eat shit food, your brain does have a connection with your stomach. Your brain is not going to appreciate it, and it's going to feel sad that you're not feeding it proper food. Because
Exactly.
if you have, even
Yeah.
if you have shit food every now and then, but then you balance it out with real food or with even proper exercise, like the little things like that is what can lead to a proper healthy gut versus just
Yeah.
having Taco Bell one night, then going out to Popeyes the next day, then having McDonald's. It's
Oh,
and all their bread,
there's
all their
so
bread has
much.
sugar. They has all these, preservatives. It's
Yeah.
all these like just like unnecessary chemicals that, with the amount of people that buy that food in the daytime, you don't need to have food that's going to sit there for, or put in all these preservatives and all these things. Like, no, just fucking get the fresh food and make it on, like, just get it through this, make it an
Yeah.
overnight staff
You know
and
what's
make.
really ironic? Something that's really ironic. I had some friends that were just like me. They gained weight throughout their au pair experience, but then I had other friends. They lost weight. I had one friend that started off as she wasn't vegan, she wasn't vegetarian. She came here, she ate meat. Then she switched over to be vegan in the United States, which is very ironic
It's very
since
expensive too.
yes, but there are so many more choices of meatless options and vegan options in the United States in comparison to Germany. She was from Austria, so she would tell me, Jasmine, the amount of vegan options I find here are amazing. If you go to a restaurant in Germany, they won't have a vegan option. So that is very ironic, but a very interesting fact I wanted to share because, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's really funny that you say that though. Just because it's, for a lot of the gut health issues that what people face today. And vegan, yes, I do understand is an option for life, but some people do it just because they can't ingest meat, or they
Right.
can't. And some people are gluten free because they can't ingest carbs. But in
Hmm.
reality, is if you had carbs, like say if you had pasta from Italy, more than likely your stomach would accept it. Versus if you had pasta here in America, where they have the amount of preservatives and they have the amount of chemicals that sit there, and keep the food on the shelves, so that this way you have it, for as long as possible. But it's the more research that's coming out about it, this is something that I keep up with as much as possible, just because every fact that keeps coming out about the stuff that they're putting in our food, I'm praying that it's more of a wake up call to these companies to stop the bullshit and to start actually putting out food that's, one, going to be better for our communities, but two, stop taking advantage of these communities that have no money, and stop putting up these fucking fast food
100%.
places where they have Popeyes, McDonald's, Checkers, and all these other places all around you
Fruit
instead of
and
a fucking Whole
vegetables are so
Foods.
expensive.
Yeah, organic, especially organic ones. You go fucking buy
So,
organic vegetables, you're spending double the fucking money. Like,
yeah,
that's the most irritating thing, is that you look at a salad where it costs $7.99 and you got a burger that costs $1. Like, for the person who's struggling and making $10 an hour and has bills and has a family and has all these things, obviously going to go with the cheapest option to try and get some
right,
food into their system, so that this way they can at least eat and have some type of feeling
right.
full. But it's a fucking, it's just, it's another thing that gets me very very heated, because
Me
they
too.
say we need to eat better. We need to eat better. But we'll put fucking better places out there for the lesser communities
Right.
and actually make it affordable for them to fucking get the damn vegetables, to get the fruit, to get the grilled chicken, to get the fish, an actual real fish, and not this damn made factory made fishes that they're putting out there. Like,
Oh,
like it's disgusting and it's hypocritic, and I am just I'm fucking heated right now just thinking about this shit. It's just because the amount of the amount of family members I have right now with health deficiencies, just because of the fucking bullshit food that they put into. And it's not because, again, I know it's their choice. It's their choice to put the food into their mouths. But again, we grew up in a time where we had very little money, and we had
mhm.
survive at all costs. You know, the amount of sodium that's in ramen noodles. I'm surprised that people don't have kidney stones the second you start
Oh,
ingesting them. you
yeah.
know that's another point where it's just like, you got these college kids, especially, they thrive and they live off these oodles and noodles, because it's all they can
Mhm.
afford while trying to get an education, so that this way they can pay off the $20,000 debt that they just took out. It's
Oof,
yeah,
it's sad.
it's sad. It's genuinely
It really
sad, and
is.
to pursue something that they probably won't even get hired for, pursue something that they lose interest in. Like, there's
Just a
just
piece of
so much.
paper.
Yes, for a fucking piece of paper. Exactly.
Yeah.
For a fucking piece of paper. Like, there's so much, like, there's, again, this is not me shitting on my country. I love my country. I have the fucking flag tattooed on me for a reason. You know, I love my country to death, and it's not that it's not it's unpatriotic to criticize your country. It's very patriotic to criticize your country in the best ways for its people. It's not that you want to criticize your country and to say that you hate your country. It's criticizing the country in the manners that it needs to be more equal and better for every citizen, not for just a select group of citizens, but for every citizen. That's the shit that irritates me the most on the fucking news, is that they say, uh, you can get through this by just selling this. You can get through this by just selling your car. Like, you can save some money by taking the bus. You can say, like, that's not the only way they're gonna save fucking money. Like, at the end of the day, the mother who has the single mother who is out there with 5 kids and stressing to put them all through school, like, you know, working 3 jobs. Pain is what I see in her eyes at all times, and exhaustion. And they say they're going to support them. We're going to help. And no help is ever really truly given. All these politicians say one thing. They say they have to, like, make changes, but again, going down this fucking political talk. Oh, man. But overall, though, yeah, that's another conversation for another day. But wow, I didn't even realize how much time I truly had gone by. But Jasmin, I can't thank you enough for stopping by over here and really giving people a little bit more of an insight on what it's like to be a young student coming over here to America and actually making a difference. If you will have anything you want to plug, or if you have anything you have to promote, or if you want to just shout out your Instagram for other people to follow, you're more than welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me, Tim. I really appreciate this. This was a lot of fun. Well, my Instagram is just Jasmin, Jasmin, and then my last name, Abade, and then another E. And I have an art Instagram, so I love to digital illustrate. So that is also in my bio and my private Instagram. So you can check my private Instagram out. But I just want to thank you again so much for inviting me. I had a great time talking about all these differences, cultural differences with you.
And I appreciate all the information. Like I said, this was definitely something that I feel that was important, because this gives people a little bit more of an example on what it's like, you know, overseas and versus what it's like over here. And again, I can't appreciate you enough. Maybe we'll do this again in the future so we can get a little bit more, because there's definitely more questions I have for the future. But overall, Jasmin, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, guys. So real quick, we're going to talk a little bit about your next protein purchase, which is going to be the Jocko Milk. So you're going to go to originmain.com. You're going to use promo code Welsh10, WELSH10 at checkout for 10% off your order. You're going to order yourself some Jocko Milk, and you're going to save yourself some money at the end of the day. If you find that you're buying yourself probiotics, digestive enzymes, essential amino acids, aka EAAs, or protein powder, and you're buying all that separately, and if you're buying at a high quality rate, chances are you're probably spending anywhere between $120 to $200. Jocko Milk only costs $44.95 at originmain.com. And then if you use my code, like I said earlier, Welsh10, WELSH10, for 10% off your order at checkout, you can save yourself 10% off on top of getting yourself the best tasting and the best quality protein that's on the market. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Hope you have a great one.